Hi, I'm Maureen, and welcome to Before an Audience, Tips and Tricks to Reading Your Writing in Public. This is our second blog, so welcome back if you were here for the first one, and welcome for the first time if you're just now starting with us. Today, I'm going to be talking about how to prepare for the reading just before you go, like on your car on that same day. What things are you going to do? But actually, I'm going to start with the day before. You're going to want to be sure and drink 8 to 10 cups of water that day, even if you're not a regular water drinker, because if you don't, there's a tendency to get dry mouth. It becomes a little difficult to understand. Your voice can become muffled and mangy sounding. So be sure and drink your water the day before. The other thing I recommend is that you bring your water with you, and you always have it by your side so that if you have a cough or you have everything, you're not disrupting the room in order to take care of the cough. You're just going to have a little sip, and nobody ever seems to mind this. So I always make sure I take like a nice little container, and it helps to keep me self-contained. So now we're on to the rest of the journey here. Keep in mind that you are a success before you arrive. And I mean that. I seriously mean that. I say it because when I get dressed up to go somewhere, when I make plans for the evening, when I have to make sure dinner's on the table and I can get out of the house on time and get to that bookstore, that library in order to hear that reading or see the concert or see the play, I don't do that because I think they're going to be a failure. I do that because I assume they will be a success, and you need to assume the same thing. It's very important that you have that in your frame of mind when you get there. Because as far as the audience is concerned, they're arriving to see whatever you present. So it's a success no matter what you do. The second thing I want to tell you about is to make sure that you respect your reading in the same way that you respect your writing. Don't be haphazard. Don't just run in willy-nilly reading from whatever you think you want to read from that day. It's not as appealing as somebody who is actually prepared. Make the effort, and the audience will notice the difference. Clear diction. Clear diction is more important than I can even begin to tell you, because as soon as I start mumbling, you have no idea what I'm saying. Then what happens is people start looking around. They're looking on their phones. What did they say? I don't know what's going on. So make sure you have clear diction. Projection. Projection means your voice is going to go all the way to the back of the room. So if you can, visit the venue early. Get an idea of what it's like. Maybe shout at a friend across the room, see what that feels like if there's an opportunity. Get there when it's just employees so that you can talk to them and see what kind of vocal distance you're going to need, especially if you're new to this. If you've done this a few times, then you can kind of gauge it when you get there. But projection is incredibly important, because if you lose the people in the back row, then you're going to subsequently lose people ahead of that, because the same thing will happen. They'll get on their phones, they'll start fussing, they're going to talk to each other, and everybody is there because everybody wants to hear what you've got to say. Remember, you're a success before you arrive. Music. Okay, this is one of my favorites. This is a favorite topic of mine. I knew an actor who would listen to John Philip Sousa before every audition, and he had an enormous cast rate. He was cast most of the time. So I asked him once, I said, "What do you do?" He said, "I listen to John Philip Sousa. I'm totally energized, I'm pumped, I'm ready to go. I get there, I'm enthusiastic. Everybody wants to work with somebody who's enthusiastic." So he got cast, and he got cast a lot. Those were commercial auditions. So I can't tell you how important it is. Find something uplifting. Find something that is going to make you feel happy, excited, ready to get up off the dance floor. Now, you don't have to dance while you're there. It's just a little bolster. You won't necessarily notice when you get there that, oh, I feel so much different. But it's something that will stay with you. It will keep that energy with you and keep it moving through the evening. The third thing I want to talk to you about are clothes. What kind of clothes you need to wear. Now, I had a director say this to me once, and he was right, and I had never considered this prior. I never forget it now. Wear something that makes you feel good. makes you feel proud of who you are. If you have a signature color that you enjoy, if you have a special collar that you like, or a skirt or slacks, or something that just makes you feel good when you're wearing it. Make sure it fits properly, because the last thing you want is for the audience to have to watch you be picking at your clothes and fussing with your hair and messing around with everything because you can't get settled. Yeah, maybe you notice this, but as soon as I start messing with my clothes, my energy drains away from what I'm saying, and now it becomes all about the clothes. And remember, you want their attention for your words, not your clothes. So something that feels good, but not anything that's going to hinder your performance. Shoes. I want to talk to you about shoes. Shoes are something you want to rehearse in as well as perform in. Now, if you're seated, and we're going to talk about when you're seating, when you're standing, when you're on a stage, when you're behind a podium, we're going to go over all of that on a different video blog. But on this one, consider that your shoes are your foundation. And if you're wearing new shoes that are uncomfortable or old shoes that are uncomfortable, high heels that are, you may want to twist and bend, and pretty soon all your energy is going towards your feet. And again, it's being pulled away from your words. You want shoes that you can stand, plant your feet, and just stay there. That's what you're going to do, is stay there. If you move, make it deliberate and during a pause, so that you're not distracting the reading. All of your body has to work in coordination with what you're saying. So that's an incredibly important thing to remember. And I even, when I have actors for a show, first night of rehearsal, I always say, wear the shoes. The costume shop is going to get us the shoes that you're going to wear. I want to see you in them in every rehearsal, because you move differently, whether you're wearing, slippers or high heels or boots or work shoes or tennis shoes. You move differently. We all do, men and women alike, children, everybody. So you want it to be exactly as you have planned. All right. And then the next thing I'm going to talk about is breathing. Now, having enough breath to finish your sentence is important for all kinds of obvious reasons, and I'm sure you can figure that out. But it also calms your nerves. It also steadies your pace. It can keep you from talking too fast, losing concentration. And when you breathe, the kind of breaths I'm talking about are, say, 10 breaths. You're pulling air all the way into your body, and your lungs are expanding. Your lungs are the largest organ in your body, and you want the lungs to expand, contract, expand, contract. So you're inhaling and exhaling at least 10 times. Now, on days when you're really busy and you're rushed and you're not sure if you're going to have enough time, 20. You want to do 20 breaths. And I kid you not, you'll need more time to calm down. The final topic we're going to talk about today are warm-ups. Your vocal cords are a muscle, just like every other muscle in the body, and they all need to be exercised and flexed. I'm sure you've heard people come onto a stage and immediately start clearing their throat. I got a frog in it. Excuse me very much. Oh, I got to get a drink of water. They didn't do any warm-ups. I can guarantee you, hands down, no warm-ups, because they didn't clear the pathway for the volume, for their sound. So they're very easy to do. You've heard them in movies. You've seen them on television shows, and they are tongue twisters. I'm going to do 3 tongue twisters here. They're 3 of my favorites, but look them up online. Find ones that you like. They may not be what anybody else would do, but they're what you want to do. First one is red leather, yellow leather. Red leather, yellow leather. And yes, I am exaggerating because remember, we're moving that muscle. Red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather. And then you speed that up as fast as you can. Red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather. Just takes practice. The next one is mom, may, me, my, mo, moo. Now I usually do that often. I do that a lot. It's the vowel sounds with a consonant in front. So ta, te, ti, tai, to, tu. It will exercise different muscles. Ba, be, bi, bai, bo, boo. Za, ze, zi, zai, zo, zoo. Any of those, any combination thereof, you can do the same one over and over again, but it's a nice rhythm to keep you going. Then the last one is white wicker rocker. Now this was in a play I did one time. Somebody had written that as a line, and oh my gosh, I've used it ever since. White wicker rocker. White wicker rocker. You see, it exercises even in a little different area. So those are the things to do the day before. What to keep in mind, how to physically be available and be ready to perform when you get there. Okay, today's reading is going to be from a short story that is yet unpublished. And it's a riff on Sam Spade. It's actually going to be in the book. And I do a little bit of an accent in this one, although it's not necessary, but I do a little accent. And it's first person, and it is only one voice. So we're not going to do multiple voices. We're going to do that in a later video. But this one you can hear. It's either inner monologue or it is dialogue that he's talking to himself. All right? Marvin dragged his raggedy ass into his dingy apartment after a long, frustrating day. He expected to find his porch cat, his dirty breakfast dishes, and a nearly empty bottle of bourbon. No glass. Nope. He found instead the body of a dead accountant. Now, mind you, it wasn't Marvin's accountant. He didn't make enough money to hire someone as prestigious as an accountant. Yeah, he was a friend of sorts. He was a client who had hired Marvin a couple of years back when he thought his boss might be a mobster. Well, it turns out that part was true. His boss was a mobster. Now, what I did right there, when I turned to the side and I talked to you, that's called an aside. So it's like a little secret between you and the audience. So you can do that. They're fun little things. It's an inner monologue, and you just do that, and then you go right back to your narrator voice. So let me take that back a little bit. He was a client who had hired Marvin a couple of years back when he thought his boss might be a mobster. Huh. That part is true. His boss was a mobster, and he hated to quit the case because it was the best money of his life. And come to think of it, he didn't pay for my services rendered either. Too late now. You see the sigh? It's all written in. I write everything down. I'm going to go over that with you next time. Marvin rubbed his face and stared at the mess in his living room. He asked himself, how on earth did he get into my apartment? And why would he come here uninvited? And who the heck would kill the guy anyway? He noticed the phone receiver had been knocked off its cradle. He picked it up and listened. Dead. No dial tone whatsoever. I guess I won't be calling the police anytime soon, he said, grumbling to himself. He wandered off into the kitchen to see what other surprises might be waiting for him. And there it was, the strangest bit of all. His breakfast dishes were washed, sitting in the drainer, already dry. How long had he been here? He grabbed a shot glass out of the cupboard, walked back into the living room, and guess what? The almost finished bottle of bourbon was now dead as the accountant. Peering over at the body, he saw the porch cat sitting on top of the accountant bathing. Oh, jeez. What next? Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for being here, and thank you for listening. I really appreciate it. We'll see you next time when we're going to talk about more reading your writing in front of an audience. Take care.